Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sigvaldo here, and today we are going to be doing a tier list for the Multiverse characters. As many of you have asked me in the comments to do a top 10 on the Multiverse characters, I think I'll do a tier list in order for me to be able to explain it better. I'll tell you in my opinion which are the best and which are the worst Multiverse characters, and after that I will tell you how to pair them up. Going into this video, keep in mind that this is my personal opinion, but I do have all the Multiverse characters. I have played them all, and right now I consistently play two Multiverse teams in the arena, the footage that you will see in the background, so I got a pretty good idea on how to pair them up and how good they are compared to the others. If you have any questions regarding this video or regarding Injustice Mobile in general, feel free to ask them down in the comments, and I will make sure to answer them whenever I get the time. If you're not subscribed, I would really appreciate if you'd subscribe in order to support the channel. If you are subscribed, click that bell button to get notified for every single upload. That would be amazing. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, and let's get into it. Okay, so we are going to start from the bottom to the top. For those of you unfamiliar with how tier lists work, it starts from D, E or something, and it goes up like C, B is better than C, A is better than B, and S is better than them all. And it's going to be basically a ranking by letters, S being the better one, and then you go down A the second best one, B the third best one, and C. You get the gist of it. This is a pretty good way to rank characters, and I'll try to rank them over here based on their performance in Raids Arena and Champions Arena, and how essential are they in a team, and how good they are, and what things they can do. And we are going to be starting with C tier, and at C tier we only have Multiverse Black Canary, because unfortunately she is, in my opinion, the worst Multiverse character. It's not a terrible character, it's just an average gold character, which right now is going to be in a tier list with characters that are going to be much better than her. So a brief summary of what she does. Basically there's nothing too great about her abilities, except some ability disable on her special tree if I'm not mistaken, and that can deal a pretty decent amount of damage, and her passive is going to increase the base bonus on the 5th gear for the Multiverse teammates in her team, and she will also give a chance for the first special of the Multiverse characters to cost no energy. And that can be decent. The no energy cost can be decent in some specific teams and some let's say experimental teams with the Multiverse team, but other than that there are going to be much better options in terms of support characters to have in the Multiverse team, and in my opinion she doesn't really have any place in the two best Multiverse teams, but we will talk about that later. And that stats increased for the base stat of the 5th gear. Keep in mind it's only the base stat, which means it will give a little bit of additional critical attack chance to all the Multiverse teammates. And Multiverse of Flash, as we will talk about later, will be much better at that. So overall, not a terrible character, but a character that right now is going to be compared with characters that are simply much better than her. With all that being said, let's move on to the B tier. Coming up to the B tier, we are going to have three characters. First of all will be Captain Cold. I was Multiverse Captain Cold, of course. I was very undecided to put it into B tier or A tier, so if you think he should be put in A tier instead of B tier, then you are 100% right. I agree with your opinion, just only by a slight bit I have decided to put him in the B tier. He's going to be a pretty good character. He is going to stand out by the fact that only by having him in your collection he will grant a very high amount of armor piercing resistance. I think I at maximum level of passive, close to maximum resistance, or if maximum resistance to armor piercing attacks. It means that armor piercing attacks that are used on Multiverse Captain Cold or on any Multiverse characters in your roster, even if he's not in the team, will not have the armor piercing ability and will not ignore armor. Other than that, for the first 30 seconds of the match, he will be able to reduce the damage received from basic attacks, so every source of damage except for special attacks and super moves he will be able to reduce for you. He's immune to freeze and he has some pretty decent abilities, and his special tree will increase the damage of the multiverse character's special abilities, and that can stack up. I haven't seen anybody put him to work yet because I think that might be used to a higher extent than it has been used so far, but unfortunately for now I can only give him B tier. Maybe A tier, maybe. So if you would like him to be a tier higher, then I totally agree with you. Him being in B tier instead of A tier was just a slight decision. Like it could have been either way. Next character that will be in B tier will be Multiverse Supergirl. Multiverse Supergirl is a pretty decent multiverse character. She has a passive that grants your multiverse teammates a flat amount of defense, and at the same time she will reduce the damage they receive if they fall below 40% health, I think, or something like that. This is a good passive, but my problem with it is that first of all, the if below 40% health triggers only when you're below 40% health, of course, and at that point you're already in trouble, so she will be beneficial for you only when you screw up, and I don't like characters that work that way. And the defense, the fact that she gives defense prevents character from getting to 40% health faster, so her passive are a little bit of a contradiction there, but nevertheless she can be a pretty solid team member as a tank and a support for damage dealing reduction purposes. Her abilities are nothing really special except for the special 2, which has a freeze on it, and the more you put points into it, the more the freeze lasts, and you can make some pretty decent combinations where you just keep spamming the freeze until the battle ends and you keep your opponents without having anything being able to do. But I don't really like using that. So overall, a pretty good character, a pretty good multiverse character, but unfortunately only made it to B tier because the characters that are above B tier are going to be so much better. And the last character in B tier will be Multiverse Batwoman. And hold on, I know a lot of you guys like Multiverse Batwoman, a lot of you guys use her as damage dealer, but simply I think that she's great as a damage dealer, but the problem is compared to the other Multiverse characters, she is not the best damage dealer over here. And we will get into the other damage dealers later. But Multiverse Batwoman is going to... or Batgirl, I always get this mixed up. I'm just not gonna say it anymore. So she will be able to extend the duration of the multiverse buffs that are applied to her. At the same time, she will be able to receive increased damage on her abilities from every multiverse buff that is active. And she's going to have dot damage on her third ability. So all those coupled together will result in a pretty high damage on her special tree, but it's pretty hard to set up. And other than that, she gives the multiverse characters a chance to ignore the breaking of combos. So that means that it's a little bit of a worse blind. So if the enemy is going to hit you, you will still receive the damage, but you will not get staggered and you will be able to begin your combo again, only taking one hit and continuing to hit him. And that, while that is a pretty good thing to have, it's a thing that still relies on random luck, and it's a thing that is kind of not necessary since characters that we'll talk about later, like Multiverse the Flash, is a very smooth character to play and doesn't need anything like that. You can use your combos with him easily. Multiverse Green Arrow and Multiverse Black Lightning will have infinite combos, we'll get into that later, so her passive is really not necessary. She is yet another character coupled with Multiverse Black Canary that I don't use in my two multiverse teams that I'm using. Unfortunately, I know some of you use her as a damage dealer to a great extent, and she's a good damage dealer, but the other characters on this list that are ranked higher are going to be just so much better. Now getting into the A-list, and from now on we will get into very good characters. First character that we will have in the A tier will be Multiverse Green Arrow, and Multiverse Green Arrow will be so high up because of the fact that first of all, one of his passive will give the multiverse team a chance to deal dot damage additional when they use a special attack. So when you're using a special attack, you have a chance to also deal some dot damage over time on the enemy. because of Multiverse Green Arrow's passive. At the same time, he will have a passive that increases the health of all Multiverse characters. That way he will be making your characters tankier without having to build them towards being tanky. And the last passive, yet again a great passive, will give you a chance to power drain the enemy while using your special one on any of the Multiverse characters that are in his team, and that works very well with Multiverse Armored Supergirl special one, and we'll get into that later. And at the same time, there is a chance that you will also transfer the power that you have drained back towards your team, and this is amazing. Other than that, he's going to have Dot on his third special, so he has a pretty decent third special, even though I don't recommend using him as a damage dealer. And he is also going to have Power Drain on his special one, and that makes him a very good all-rounded character. And on top of that, he's going to be able to perform an infinite combo, which is always welcome. So overall, a very great character, a very great support character, but he didn't score in the S tier because of the fact that he doesn't make it into the best multiverse raid team, and he's not as great or as versatile as the characters that are in the S tier, and we'll get into that later. And the last character on A tier will be Multiverse Black Lightning. And Multiverse Black Lightning, in my opinion, is going to be the second best multiverse damage dealer. He is going to be unfortunately overshadowed by Multiverse Armored Supergirl, that we'll talk about later. But if she was not on this list, then maybe she would have made it on the top team. On the top multiverse team. But unfortunately, he's just the second best multiverse damage dealer. He has a passive that makes the multiverse characters heal when they get power drained. That is a little bit specific, but it can come in handy at some points. And he also is going to have a passive that will increase the cost of the enemy's abilities after they are used on multiverse characters. And two things very notable: he's going to have one of the best special tools in the entire game. It's going to be a dot damage ability, that is a cage unlocks the enemy into place. And his third ability will have armor piercing, so that is also an amazing thing. So overall, a very good character, but unfortunately not the best damage dealer. Also, he also has an infinite combo available to him, as you will see in the gameplay that I'll do on the screen. So overall, a great character, unfortunately not the best damage dealer for the multiverse team, because the characters in the S tier are going to be so much better. This was all for the A tier. Now let's get into the S tier. So in the S tier we will have two characters. First of all, we'll have Multiverse Armored Supergirl, and there's not much need of an explanation over here. She will be hands down the best damage dealer in the entire game. And it will take like 20 minutes just to go over all her abilities, but what you need to know is that her first ability will inflict burning damage on the enemy, and burning damage will decrease the armor of the enemy, and her first ability is also dot damage. Her first ability deals increased damage to might characters, so her first ability is going to be a long range laser that will nuke any might character and will inflict heavy casualties on any character that it hits, and it also inflicts burning. And guess what goes well with burning? Her third ability, that is going to deal additional damage to the opponents that are afflicted by burning, and at the same time it is going to increase her critical attack chance and critical attack damage for a very high duration. So she is so good that if you pair her up with Multiverse the Flash, that we are going to talk about later, she can just have only attack on her gears and still be able to have maximum critical attack chance and maximum critical attack damage. She's going to be the best damage dealer in the multiverse roster, and easily the best damage dealer, and she will be the best character to use in raids and the best character to use in the best multiverse team. But yet again, we'll get more into the teams after I have finished the tier list. She is more or less a must-have character, one of the best characters to use against Captain Cold in raids, and she can interrupt the enemy's abilities by tagging in. That's a pretty important thing to mention, but it needs to be used on multiverse characters. So if you have a multiverse character fighting and you have her tagged out, the enemy is going to use an ability, and you're going to tag her in. She's going to interrupt the enemy's ability, and she's going to gain bars of power because she interrupted the enemy's ability. Overall, she is going to be an amazing character and one of the best damage dealers in the game, and one of the best damage dealers when it comes to fighting Captain Cold. And guess who goes very well with Multiverse Armor Supergirl? Multiverse the Flash. Oh boy, if I was to pick the best out of those two, I'm not sure who I would have picked, because while she is such a great damage dealer, he is one of the best support slash combo builders in the entire game when coupled with Multiverse team, and still one of the best combo builders outside of the Multiverse team. First thing right off the bat is the fact that he has 3 fast attacks. 3 fast attacks means that every time he will trigger a fast attack, he will hit 3 times, so that already recommends him as a combo builder. He has a passive that will allow him to simply bypass the first few abilities that are going to be used by tech opponents and damage them back and counter those abilities. He will have a passive that is going to increase the critical attack chance and the critical attack damage of the Multiverse characters by a huge amount. And he will also have a passive that is similar to Dr. Fate and Power Girl's passive that is going to reduce the cost of the Multiverse abilities. So if you are to compare this guy with any other support in the entire game while he is in the Multiverse team, he is going to be the best support in the entire game, but unfortunately only for the Multiverse team. And he's also going to be a great combo builder. So basically this guy is going to be a jack of all trades, is going to be a character that you are going to be building and to be using at great efficiency in the Multiverse team, and you'll be using at pretty decent efficiency in any other team if you're using him as a combo builder. And that's why he also made it to S tier. This is everything for the S tier, and now let's take a look at the whole tier list and let's talk about what teams I'm using. So now that we have established where every character fits, of course in my humble opinion, we will see what teams I use and what teams you should be using. First of all, we will talk about the best Multiverse teams for Arena and Raids. For Arena, the best Multiverse team will be the Multiverse Armored Supergirl with the Flash and with Red Hood. Oh, for Arena, excuse me. So it will be Multiverse Armored Supergirl with the Flash and with Green Arrow. You'll have Multiverse the Flash as a combo builder, Multiverse Armored Supergirl as the damage dealer, and Multiverse Green Arrow just as a support character, but you can also kind of build him, especially if you don't have gears for Multiverse the Flash. You have seen this team on the screen most likely. The next team that I'm using in the arena will be Multiverse Black Lightning, coupled with Multiverse Captain Cold and Multiverse Supergirl. So basically the idea of this team is that Multiverse Black Lightning is going to deal a huge amount of damage with his special tree, because it is armor piercing, and what I'm trying to make sure with the teammates that I have given him is that I am able to keep him alive as much as possible in order to fight high threat teams and use as many special trees as possible. Keep in mind that this is the second best Multiverse team, considering that you are already using the first best team. So if you already have a team with Multiverse Green Arrow, Multiverse Armored Supergirl and Multiverse the Flash, then this is the second best thing you can have while still having that team. If you are missing characters from the first team, you can just fill it up with Multiverse Captain Cold or Multiverse Black Lightning. And unfortunately right now I'm not using Multiverse Armor Batwoman, Multiverse Batwoman or Multiverse White Canary, because I just didn't find a good place for them in the Multiverse teams. But you can have fun and you can do any kinds of combinations of these characters you want, because you simply can't go wrong. But there are some things that have been proven to be the most optimal. Who knows, maybe you'll find the best Multiverse team that nobody has thought about. I'm just telling you what has been discovered so far. And in terms of raids, you will use the Multiverse team to fight Captain Cold, you will use Multiverse Armored Supergirl, Multiverse the Flash and Red Hood in order to use the super move Red Hood to extend the duration of the fight. So those are the teams, those are the tier list. This is the tier list. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Let me know if you want me to do videos like this on other teams, like the Justice League team or the Batman Ninja team. Thank you very much for watching. For any questions, hit me down in the comments. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, subscribe for more content like this, and hit that bell button to not miss an upload. This was Sigval the Grim, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.